topic while we can. Stash it or blast it. This is where we're going to be asked about a topic or a series of topics, and then we're going to decide whether we stash it or blast it, basically like a buy or sell. We only have one topic in this segment right now, but I think this is going to take just as much time if we had 3 or 4. We got to thank MakingStarWars.net for this topic because they were able to track down the individual who leaked 3 new Star Wars Lego sets that are going to be coming out in light of Star Wars The Last Jedi. We get our first look in Lego form. The First Order Star Destroyer, the Heavy Assault Walker, I believe is what it's called, and the Resistance Bomber. And I think it's best to go just one by one. So we'll start here with the First Order Star Destroyer. And I had to say, I like this. It does not look like Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer in the sense that I didn't like how it had like empty space in it. I think a lot of people were into it because they're like, oh, that's like a futuristic version of his Star Destroyer. Okay, I just wasn't into it, and that's fine. But this looks cool. I like how the command tower is like more kind of like pressed into the body of the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, I noticed that it doesn't really stick off of the ship like
about those like original trilogy ones.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's just out of the engineers finally just decided, you know what, in the Clone Wars, this wasn't a good strategy.
This isn't a good idea.
And for the Empire, it hasn't worked out for us. So you know what, we're gonna take we're gonna just press it down. That makes sense. Jesse, what do you think? Because if this thing was coming after me, I would be very scared.
Well, yeah, I definitely run. The cool thing about this set is, I mean, what you're getting with it. I believe with this set, you get a Lego figurine of Snoke.
In gold robes.
Yeah, so very interesting. I kind of like it. And now that's what kind of piqued my interest here is, yes, I realize that these are Legos. You know, they're not going to be completely
but
screen
we're starting
accurate.
to get those Snoke toys. You know, we're getting images of him now.
So it's kind of one of those things is I'm excited about getting details about the character.
And what's interesting here with this minifigure, Jesse, is the fact that this minifigure is the same height, or it appears to be the same height, as the other minifigures that we get, which is surprising to me because we've been hearing about how Plagueis is like 7-something feet tall. So I thought that the minifigure might be a little bit larger than the rest, and I think a lot of people were surprised when they saw the minifigure. It's
a very good point there, but you know, a lot of people are like, well, look how huge this hologram is, and we've already seen that before in The Empire Strikes Back when Vader takes the holo call from the Emperor early in the film.
Right.
It's not an on scale, you know.
No, we know that Snoke projection in Force Awakens was vastly exaggerated.
So it's just one of those things where, you know, everybody was like, well, just look how, you know, he's very imposing looking, and, well, he's a leader. Mm-hmm. You know, they're calling him Supreme Leader Snoke, so I think, he has a very royal feel about him. I mean, he's sitting in a throne. And with this little mini figurine, we're seeing what seems to be a rich costume. He's in gold-looking robes.
Right.
So,
what do you think about? We get a couple other minifigures with that. The Stormtroopers look about the same.
Yeah, they're about the same. You know, it's what you would expect out of the rest of the figures and everything. Mm-hmm. Overall, though, I would say stash it on that ship.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things where
I'm glad you're saying that because I was going to say the same thing. You gotta keep it. I think of the 3. I mean, it kind of stinks that we're doing it in this order because this one to me is the best one. Yeah, you have to keep it. It is great, and it's the first Lego set of the new trilogy where I'm like, I have to go get that because the last Lego set that I really wanted to get was the U-wing that came out with Rogue One. So this is gonna be good, and I think this one's gonna probably come in around $110. Yeah, $119 because it is on that larger scale. But definitely a piece that I want to get. You know, you get a couple Imperial officers with that, a couple Stormtroopers. And then you get like this Imperial droid that's like an Imperial version of BB-8. So I guess if the Resistance has a BB-8 unit, the Empire gets one too. Let's go ahead and move on to the Walker. And looking at the Walker now, this looks like it looks like the AT-AT. It's reminiscent of that, but the front legs, the upper joints are higher up. It kind of looks like this thing can mount or maybe scale buildings. It kind of reminds me of that AT-TE leg from the Clone Wars, but that the foot definitely has a lot more armor down below. I think it's a clunkier build. It's not nearly as appealing as the AT-AT because I've got the AT-AT behind me right now, and I think that is a really nice look. It's clean. And of course, it's the iconic vehicle from Empire Strikes Back.
Well, of course. But the interesting thing, though, about when you look at it, I don't know if it's just the picture, but it seems like this, this vehicle seems to be not as tall in the air.
You think it's smaller?
I think it's potentially a smaller troop transport. And that could simply go back to design. I mean, we've seen with the previous ship where the command bridge is not sticking up off the ship. Well, what happened to the AT-ATs at Hoth?
There were more than those 5 or 6.
Well,
they had hundreds.
Well,
probably.
My point is snow speeders were able to tangle up the legs really easily. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if potentially, if in the film these will be shorter and stockier,
lower to the ground,
Yeah. So it potentially this would make it more difficult for them to be tripped up in that fashion.
You get Rey with her Jedi robes and lightsaber. You get Captain Poe Dameron now. He's captain.
I noticed that too. There's definitely a difference.
It would make sense. The man kicked ass in Force Awakens. Yeah, he was one of my favorite parts.
He's a fighter ace.
Yeah. And then you get a couple, you get some new, you don't get a snow trooper here. You're getting a heavy assault walker trooper with this black scar over his one eye. And then you get a regular first order trooper. For me, I am going to blast it until I see the movie. And then depending on how this vehicle is utilized in the movie, and if I can buy into it in the film, I will buy it in source.
I'm kind of on the same page with you there. That's kind of how I viewed it. Tried to look at it from a technical standpoint of what was the difference that we saw in previous Lego sets, the AT-AT, for example. But I'm trying to picture it in a film sense. And that's the conclusion I came to, that potentially this vehicle sits lower to the ground, and that it explains its appearance.
Such a great observation. Let's go on to the third image that we have, and this is the third and final Lego set that has been unveiled, and it is the Resistance Bomber. And looking at this Lego set compared to what we've seen in the trailer that we've gotten already for The Last Jedi, to me, this is a letdown. I'm looking at the build. It looks very basic. It looks like there's bigger pieces that take care of more of the ship. And if you're looking at this image, you look at the blaster there on the near wing. It's just a wand piece into a clip. To me, I thought the bombers looked cool in the trailer. I think this design looks weak. Maybe because they were trying to save costs and they were trying to make a set that was maybe more affordable. Because I'm assuming that the Walker is going to be in the $60 to $80 price range. You're assuming the Destroyer is going to be somewhere between the $80 and $120. I think it's going to be in that $120 range we brought up earlier. This one looks like they're trying to keep it $40 to $50, maybe $60. You get some Resistance pilots, which is cool. You get Vice Admiral Holdo in this set. So you look at it. What are your impressions? I seem to be really negative, and I apologize for it. But what do you think?
I have to agree that the set seems to be missing something. The most recent Lego set that I put together was the hover tank from Rogue One, and it was really neat how they combined a lot of the parts together to give different dimensions and curves and angles, and that's what I feel like this set's missing. It seems to be a set where you're buying it for the character pieces, which is, to me, is a little bit of a cop-out, a little bit. I was expecting just a little bit more out of, a Lego vehicle set.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the hover tank, because I thought that was one of the best Lego sets in a while that has Lego-fied a vehicle from the Star Wars world. No. Does it hold the number of troopers that it did in the film? No. Does it hold the number of crates that did the film? No. But it was a great Legofication of that vehicle. Legofication is a word. At least it is now. But, I think that we're seeing...
Patent pending.
I'm sorry?
Trademark or copyright pending.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that. Of these three, though, I think the Destroyer will be the one that I had to get. I think with the Bomber, complete blast it. I'm not interested.
Yeah, definitely blast it on the Bomber. The Walker, I'm kind of in between stow it and blast it.
I will go online, though, and
let's put it in carbon freezing.
I will go online and track down this Vice Admiral Holdo figure, because that looks cool. And if I do buy into her character, I know I complained about her hair earlier. That's a silly thing. If she's a pivotal character, I will find that minifigure somewhere. And I do like that each of these three sets does give you a real key minifigure. with the Destroyer, you're getting Snoke. Okay, people will buy that set alone just for that minifigure. People will buy the Walker just so they can have Rey in her Jedi training robes. And if Holdo takes, captures the audience, maybe this is another strong female that they're giving, young women and women of all ages to attach to. Then I can see that being a very popular figure as well. I think this is probably for the best for my bank account. Just like to get the one.
I would stow it on the Destroyer. Yeah. I would carbon freeze it on the Walker, and then I would blast it on the Bomber.
I like how you've created like another way of judging these sets. That's awesome.